Good morning, children. Today in Social Science and History in class 9, we continue the chapter Forest Society and Colonialism. The British control over our country definitely had a great impact on our people and particularly on our forests. So likewise, the rise of revolt in Bastar. The people suffered greatly, and as a result they got together, organized themselves and revolted against the British laws which were oppressive. So that is how they attacked these people, the British that is. They attacked and looted the houses of the people, traders, schools, police stations. But these were the places which were associated with the colonial state. That means that they were working for the British or they were British. And the oppressive laws that they had implemented on them. So now when this rebellion started, the British sent troops to suppress the rebellion. So when this situation arose, the Adivasi leaders tried to negotiate with the British and have a discussion so that the matter could be resolved. But there was nobody who would listen to them at that time, and the troops surrounded their camps and fired upon them. So they had to run into the forest. Either they were punished or they ran into the forest to save their lives. And then these troops, these British troops, they marched through the villages and flogging and punishing all those who dared to rebel or who had been a part of the rebellion. So that is how they came to control the situation and suppress the rebellion of the people over there. So the people left the villages, deserted the villages, and they fled into the jungles in order to save themselves. And it took about 3 months for the British to regain control, to suppress the rebellion and to get control back on those people and the areas. But they were never able to capture Gundadhar, one of the prominent people of the rebellion. Now, there was a major victory for the rebels. That is, the work on reservation was temporarily suspended, and the area to be reserved was reduced to almost half of that was planned before 1910. So the rebellion had been suppressed by the British troops, but at the same time the reservation which had been planned, that was suspended, and for some time, and then the area was also reduced to half. So in some way one can say that they succeeded, although not entirely successful, but yes, to some extent. After independence, also the same practices continued. The practice of keeping people out of the forest and reserving them for industrial use. So even though we became independent, the British left our country and we gained independence, but certain practices continued after that also. Then in 1970s, the World Bank proposed, and the proposal was that 4,600 hectares of natural sal forest should be replaced by tropical pine trees to provide pulp for the paper industry. So when this proposal was put forward, the people protested largely. The local people protested, of course, and the environmentalists also protested, and as a result, the project was stopped. So thankfully, these trees were not cut and replaced by others, suiting the British people. But if we see that this happened not only in India, it happened in other parts of Asia and Indonesia. Now we will see that how this impact was there in Indonesia. If we see that the forest transformations in Java, the way the British had treated our people, the way they had implemented their rules and their laws on our people living in the forest and all Almost similar to that is what happened there in Indonesia. So if we see the map out here, we see that this is Java. And here we have Borneo, we have Sumatra. This is where the Dutch colonial rule was there. And here we had the British colonial rule, North Borneo, Sarawak, and the Malay states. So this is the British controlled, and here we had the Dutch. So we see that now Java is famous as a rice producing island, but there was a time when it was covered mostly with forests. We can see many similarities in the laws for the forest control in Indonesia and India. The way the British had started forest management in our country, in India, the Dutch started the forest management in Java. And like the British, who required tree for building ships, in the same way they also wanted timber to build ships. In 1600, the population of Java was about 3.4 million, and many villages were there in fertile plains, but there were also many communities living in the mountains and practicing shifting cultivation. So we see that there's a lot of similarities regarding the forest management of the British in India and the Dutch in Java. Now they had a certain community who were known as the woodcutters of Java. The community was known as the Kalangs. Now the Kalangs were a community of skilled forest cutters and shifting cultivation. They were so valuable in 1755, and when there was a split, when Java was split, that was the Mataram kingdom of Java, when that was split, there was 6,000 Kalang families, and these families were equally divided between the two kingdoms because they were necessary, because they were important. And why they were important? Because without their expertise, because this community was an expert in cutting forests and shifting cultivators also, so their expertise would have been difficult to harvest teak and for the kings to build their palaces. So that is why the community was divided into two when the kingdom was split. So when the Dutch began to gain control over the forests in the 18th century, they tried to make the Kalangs work under them. In 1770, the Kalangs resisted by attacking a Dutch fort, but they were suppressed. They were controlled by the Dutch. So that is how we see that how forest management was seen in Java. Thank you.